Hey Jacob, how'd you like to come check cows with me?
Sure, sounds good.
All right. All right, it's looking pretty good.
Aren't we gonna go through them?
Well, Jacob, ever since I started selecting my bulls and heifers for calving ease and healthy, strong calves, I don't have to check them nearly as much. These calves pretty much come out running, and I owe it all to GeNOmics.
Hey Carly.
Hey.
Random question. Have you ever heard of GeNOmics?
Oh, sure I have. Why?
Well, I was with Rancher Tom this morning. He says he saves more time, money, and angst than he ever has before. He says he owes it all to GeNOmics.
Oh, well, he did start using GeNOmics to select for his cattle here the past few seasons, so it must be paying off for him.
Okay, but what exactly is GeNOmics?
Well, basically GeNOmics is a scientific way of improving your cattle by looking at their DNA, so that you can get the most healthy, productive, and strong cattle possible.
Sounds complicated.
Let me explain.
Traditionally, ranchers use selective breeding to improve their herds. They chose a breeding goal and visually picked the best father and the best mother to meet that goal. Then they breed them together and hope to get a superior calf. They wait for that calf to grow up and then they start the process all over again. However, that can take a long time and you still may not get the best results.
Now let me show you the GeNOmics way. For starters, a little background.
Genes are what make you, you. They are the set of instructions passed on to you by your mother and your father. Genes are on every cell in your body.
99.9% of each person's DNA sequence is exactly the same as everyone else's.
Same goes for cows. Only 0.1% are different. Genes are stored on extremely long strands of chemicals called DNA. The steps are made up of 4 types of molecules that appear in pairs. An animal's entire DNA sequence is called a genome. Hidden inside a cow's DNA are certain traits that are important for production. That DNA can tell us all kinds of things. If a cow is going to be healthy and strong, how efficiently it will gain weight on feed, or if it will produce meat that has a better tenderness and marbling for a perfect steak.
So say that I wanted to save lots of money, like Rancher Tom, and select for cows that gained lots of weight, but didn't eat as much as other cows, saving me money on feed.
If that's the thing that's most important to you, you can look for that trait inside their genome. Then you can select the animals with the highest genomic breeding value for that trait and breed them together. Using GeNOmics, you know right away which cows to breed. You don't have to wait for years to see which cow grew up needing less feed. By genomically scoring the offspring, you can improve the genetic value for a certain trait until it reaches the highest genetic value possible.
So really, you could create any kind of cow you wanted. What if we took the science and really tested it?
What do you mean?
Well, what if we wanted cows with really short hair? You would identify short hair as your preferred breeding trait. Inside each genome, you could find a sire and a dam with the trait for the least amount of hair. If you kept going, eventually you could have a whole herd of bald cows.
That would be really funny, Jacob, but I don't know what anyone would do with a bald cow. But I do think you're starting to understand GeNOmics.
Really, ranchers want to focus on improving more than just one trait as part of their breeding goal. So for your bald cows, you could add growth and muscling as desired traits. Ranchers also want to make sure that they aren't gaining genetic progress on one trait at the expense of losing progress on other traits that are important to them.
Hey, why don't we go see how the process works for ourselves?
Sure.
I think Rancher Tom is throwing a cow into the chute. We can go see how he collects a DNA sample, and then we can follow it through the process ourselves.
All right, come on.
Hey Tom,
Oh, hey guys, how's it going?
Good. So we're just wondering, what kind of difference can genomics make to livestock producers?
We're speeding up the process with greater accuracy in picking the best breeding animals that we want. For example, it takes a long time to have a bull calf, raise it till it's into its breeding age. Sometimes we don't even know if that bull's going to be good until it actually starts breeding. It can take up to 5 years sometimes. So as a calf, we can take a sample of that calf and through genomics already get a good accuracy of its genetic value. We can save a lot of time and money in selecting our breeding animals right away.
So what are we going to be doing with this steer in here?
Okay, so with this steer, we're actually going to be getting a few samples from it. We're going to start with a nasal swab, and it's really important that when we're doing these samples that we get a lot of material so that we can extract enough DNA to do the genomic analysis. So with the ear punch, we're actually using this apparatus here. It's like an ear tagger, and it just takes a tiny little punch out of the ear, much like as if you were getting your own ear pierced, so it doesn't really hurt very much. For the tail hairs, we usually like to get about 50 hairs, and we have to pull them. We can't cut them. We pull them because we need to get those hair follicles, because that's where all the DNA is stored, in those follicle cells. All right, there we go. We've got the nasal swab, the tissue, and the hair sample. Do you guys mind taking these to the lab for me? That'd be great.
Sure, we can.
All right, super.
Here's a fun exercise that the Irricana 4-H Club did to learn more about extracting DNA, in this case from an onion.
Wow, it's enough to make you cry.
Yes, it's a little rough on the eyes at first, but lots of fun nonetheless. After grinding the onion, they add soapy salt water.
Then the hot-cold treatment. First it goes into a hot water bath, then it's cooled on ice.
Next, the mixture is filtered. Alcohol is added, the DNA floats to the top of the mixture, and voila, that's onion DNA on the end of the fork.
Many of these kids are the sheep and cattle producers of the future, so the more they know about genetics, the better, right?
You got it.
So now we're taking our DNA sample to Livestock Gentek's lab called Delta GeNOmics.
And we're going to find out how the information from one of our samples is changing the next generation of livestock for the better.
Hi Jamie.
Hi Carly.
We brought some samples from a steer that we sampled yesterday, and we're wondering if you can show us the whole process of DNA analysis.
I certainly can, yep. I think the hair will work best for us today actually, so we'll start with that. What we'd normally do is take a piece of the hair that has the cells at the root of the hair, and the cells contain the DNA. And what we want to do is break apart those cells to release the DNA and isolate it so that we can then study it further. Break off a small piece of hair, put it into the tube. Then I'm going to add a little bit of this solution that will help to break the cell apart. And then start to break up the cell using this machine here, like so. This is just the start of the process, but eventually you heat this to further release the DNA, and what you'd kind of end up with eventually, after about an hour or so of doing that process, is DNA isolated from the cell. You can see here that the white threads here are the DNA.
Oh, that's so cool.
And once we have that DNA separated from everything else, we can analyze its genetic makeup by looking at SNPs.
What are SNPs?
They're basically single-letter differences in the DNA sequence of a gene. Say we have a gene we're interested in which is important for cow calving, for example. Some cows might have a gene that has the letter A at that point in the gene. Other cows might have a gene that has the letter T at that point in the gene. And if we know that the letter A is better for cow calving, then what we can do is we can read the DNA sequence of that individual and see whether it has an A or a T, and therefore whether it would be better for cow calving or not. Using genomics, we would analyze hundreds or thousands of these SNPs at once and use computer software to then match up these SNP patterns to really tell us whether that cow is good for calving or not, or for a bunch of other traits as well.
Well, thanks, Jamie. That's really awesome and very interesting.
No problem.
The whole science behind genomics is relatively new. The first genetic sequence of a cow was published in 2009. Alberta's own Livestock Gentek was established not long after, in 2010, with the help of Alberta Innovates Biosolutions and the University of Alberta.
Since then, Livestock Gentek's world-class scientists and genomics experts have been capitalizing on genomics research and bringing the commercial benefits to the Canadian livestock industry.
The benefits to the Canadian livestock industry are huge. Really, genomics allows cattlemen to look under the hide of their superior cattle so they can select for traits that are of economic importance but are also difficult to measure. Now, those traits would include things like being able to improve meat quality, improving feed efficiencies, improving reproductive efficiencies, and even reducing disease susceptibility. And all these traits are important for the cow-calf, the backgrounder, the stocker, and even the feedlot operation because they need to remain competitive, and it also improves their profitability.
This is a really exciting time to be in livestock production. The world population growing, the demand for food increasing. We need new ways of satisfying that demand. Genomics is one of those ways that we're going to be able to help. If we can get these tools into the hands of producers, they'll be able to produce the same yield from less land, less feed, less water, producing less methane, producing a product that people will want with great marbling, great eating quality. What a fabulous way to feed the world.
So Jamie, tell us the results of our sample.
Okay, so we have the results here. You can see that for each different category at the top, which is a different trait, we've got a mark out of 10 for that trait. We can see, for example, that for this animal, which was a Black Angus, we have actually a mark out of 10 for meat tenderness, which is really great, a really high score. And that's going to be a really expensive steak. You also get a few low marks as well. So we also, for example, have a 5 here for fat thickness, which might mean that although the steak tastes great, there's a lot of fat on the outside of it.
Well, I don't mind a nice tender juicy steak, and a little bit of fat never bothers me.
Thank you so much to Livestock GenTech for letting us into the lab today. The science behind genomics is really interesting, isn't it, Jacob?
It is. It's amazing how much you can learn about an animal from the root of just one hair. Imagine what we could learn about ourselves.
Ow!
Hey Jamie, I've got another sample for you.
Hey, you guys want some beef jerky? You've been working hard.
Yes,
Yeah.
There you go. It's okay. It's knowing you know.
Thanks, Rancher Tom.
Oh, no problem.
This is tender. Did it come from a bald cow?
Not bald cows, but it is genomics.